Have you ever wondered what a nation truly is? It's not just a piece of land on a map, a shared language, or a government. A nation is something deeper, an invisible yet powerful entity. Think of it as a collective consciousness, a shared psychic field that we call a national egregore. This egregore binds people together around a common identity. It can be a source of amazing unity, solidarity, and a sense of purpose. But it can also lead to conformity, exclusion, and even extremism. Understanding how this field forms, how it influences us, and why some societies spiral into radicalization is crucial for navigating our complex world. So, how do nations create this collective identity in the first place? It all starts with a story. A nation exists because enough people believe in its narrative. This story answers fundamental questions. Who are we? Where did we come from? What makes us different? What are we willing to fight and sacrifice for? These shared stories create a symbolic identity that's bigger than any single person. The national egregore feeds on this story, repeated and passed down through generations. From the moment we're born, we're immersed in this field. Think about the history we learn in school, the national holidays we celebrate, the speeches we hear from leaders, and all the unspoken cultural rules. Slowly but surely, the national identity becomes a part of our own. That's why sometimes when someone criticizes your country, it can feel like a personal attack. That feeling is proof that the egregore has woven itself into your very being. Now let's talk about the symbols that hold this all together: flags, anthems, and founding myths. These aren't just decorative elements, they are powerful emotional anchors. A flag isn't just a piece of cloth, it crystallizes our sense of belonging. A national anthem doesn't just have a melody, it synchronizes our bodies and emotions when we sing it together. Monuments aren't just stone statues, they embody our collective memory. When a group of people gathers around these symbols, the national egregore is activated and gets stronger. And every nation has its own idealized story, its founding myths. We hear tales of heroic founders, epic struggles for freedom, glorified sacrifices, and a golden age, whether it was real or imagined. These myths shape our collective unconscious. They give meaning to past hardships and justify the choices we make today. The egregore finds stability in this mythologized and often very selective version of history. This brings us to a critical distinction: the difference between healthy patriotism and what we can call total egregoric identification. In its healthy form, patriotism is a beautiful thing. It's a love for one's country that acknowledges its diversity and flaws. It sees criticism not as an attack, but as an active responsibility to make things better. It upholds universal human values and doesn't confuse loving your own country with hating others. In this balanced state, the egregore serves the people without consuming their individuality. But when national identity becomes all-consuming, that's when things get dangerous. The group's will starts to override individual conscience. Blind loyalty replaces personal ethics. Complex issues are flattened into simplistic slogans. And suddenly, having an external enemy becomes essential to keep the group united. At this point, the egregore is no longer just a symbolic framework. It has become a system of psychic conditioning. What conditions push a society toward this kind of extremism? Often, it's a perfect storm of factors. Think about severe economic crises, a widespread sense of lost identity, historical humiliations that have never been properly dealt with, or a deep-seated fear of cultural decline. In these moments of collective anxiety, the national egregore can hijack our most powerful emotions: fear, anger, resentment, and a longing for a romanticized past. To maintain its grip, the egregore simplifies the world. It draws a hard line between us and them. It actively suppresses critical thinking and independent thought. It glorifies sacrifice for the nation and begins to justify symbolic or even real violence against its designated enemies. Gradually, mass psychology takes over and individual responsibility fades away. People commit acts in the name of the nation, which allows them to detach from their own moral compass. This is where we encounter the shadow of the national egregore, the dark parts of a nation's history, the violence, the injustices. The exclusions don't just disappear when they're ignored. They get repressed and then projected outward. This can manifest as the demonization of internal or external enemies, a rise in conspiracy theories, an obsession with identity politics, and cycles of symbolic revenge. The stronger the egregore becomes, the more individuals risk losing their inner sovereignty. They lose the ability to think for themselves, their moral sensitivity becomes dulled, and they lose their openness to the beautiful complexity of humanity. At this point, the national egregore becomes a self-preserving entity, feeding on the fear and emotional attachment of its members. So, what can we do? The goal isn't to reject the idea of nations altogether. They are a part of our world. The key is to develop discernment and collective maturity. It starts with recognizing the egregore for what it is, a powerful symbolic construction. We need to acknowledge its psychic power over us without making it an absolute truth. A consciously recognized egregore loses its unconscious, coercive grip. True collective maturity means integrating our history honestly, including the shadow aspects. It means learning to balance our local identity with our shared global humanity. It means returning to a system of ethics that is based on individual consciousness, not just blind belonging. In the end, the national egregore is a tool. It's a powerful force that can unite, protect, and give our lives meaning. But it can also blind, divide, and dehumanize us. It all depends on the level of consciousness we bring to it. The real question isn't which nation you belong to, but how deeply and unconsciously you identify with it. When the egregore serves life, it's a source of support. When it replaces individual consciousness, it becomes a trap. Our own discernment is the ultimate safeguard to prevent history from repeating its most tragic patterns. Thanks for watching. If this gave you something to think about, please like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the forces that shape our world.